working for Barry Diller and Michael Eisner. You know, I think I had my sort of the first really big responsibility I had as a young production executive was relaunching what had been a TV series into a movie series, which was Star Trek.
Amazing.
So that was maybe a year or two before that. 1979, I think, was the American Gigolo that we made with Richard Gere, Paul Schrader, which then led to a wonderful partnership, friendship for me over a couple of decades with Richard. We did Officer and Gentleman together, and then went on and eventually at Disney did Pretty Woman with us, and so young years, formative years, good years.
Yes, right. Foundational for the future. You know, Leonard Nimoy said, and speaking of Star Trek, that when he got to the office, the engine in your hood was already cold because you'd been there, you'd had 3 breakfasts, and you'd already been at the office for hours. Tell us about your approach to work ethic. We hear it's astronomical.
Well, I think, Randy, it just comes from the fact that, you know, work has always been a love and a passion for me, and I've never, I'm at my happiest when I am doing things that are somewhere between improbable and impossible. That's my home address. It's sort of a recurring theme, and you know, we'll talk about it and some of the things that we're doing. You know, chapters I've had in the past, and the one that I'm working on today. But you know, in terms of my, you know, I got some gifts from my parents that are genetic. I don't get to take any credit for them, and 3 of them in particular, which is one, since I was 15 or 16 years old, I slept about 5 hours a night, and which is an incredible blessing because it just means I got 8 days a week, literally. I got an extra day
to this day.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And rarely does the alarm clock go off. Another thing which has actually been a incredible advantage for me is that I don't get jet lag, which is pretty good because
that's a blessing.
Right, so these are things I don't get to take any credit for. They're just gifts from my parents. But I love, I've always loved my work. I, as a philosophy for myself and for the companies that I have had some leadership position in over the years, I've always had a point of view that if you love your work, you love coming to work, and the people around you are appreciated for the work that they do, you win. It's a pretty simple, it's not simple to achieve it, but it's a pretty simple idea. And I as I said, I love my work, and I've always tried to, you think about it, for all of us here, there's no one in this room today that the vast majority of your life is blessed. And, 90% or 98% or 88% or some huge part of, if you have your health, if you have your family, and you're in this room today, you're blessed. And what I try to do is, this is probably something that exists in many cultures, I think particularly though in Hollywood, which is that most people spend 80% of the time focused on the 10% that stinks, and 10% of the time appreciating the 90% that's great, and just trying to do the opposite of that as best I can.
Wonderful. And you mentioned your parents. What role has mentoring played in your life? We've talked a lot about it here, both being mentored and being a mentor.
Well, a couple things. So in terms of my parents, my mom was creative and someone who expressed herself through various forms of things that she did artistically. Both my mom and my dad were actually quite philanthropic, very generous people. We again had a lot of privilege growing up, and they sort of taught me this point of view that it is the responsibility of those that have to take care of those that have not. And so socialism as opposed to socialist is something that I've been around my whole life, and I think those are actually amazing qualities and gifts. But people have been the greatest mentors for me in my career. Probably Barry Diller, who hired me, when I was 23 years old at Paramount Pictures and mentored me for 11 years there, and really formed and shaped my career in the movie and entertainment business. And I would say it was probably the one who's had the most impact. But I have had amazing mentors, all the way through my career. I even Steven Spielberg and David Geffen, who became partners of mine, and we were equal partners. But I never felt that way. I always felt that they were further along in there. So here's a fun story. So in the summer of 1994, I was at Disney.